Hey, you've made it to the podcast Recovery Captured, hosted by me, Shannon Louise, a certified recovery coach and self-verified addict. Join me on my journey through my recovery from mind-altering substances, eating disorders, depression, and much, much more. During this podcast, you'll hear my personal experience, thoughts, and opinions, as well as my guests' stories through their own recovery. I hope that you're able to take something away from this podcast and use it as a tool to help you see that your story is picture perfect. I got them.
Oh my god, what do they do?
Touch it. So I got these down in Myrtle Beach at a store called As Seen on TV.
So good.
And it has everything as seen on TV. And this is like a fidget.
Yeah, I don't even know how to describe this.
It's like a bubble, and you push it down, and it pops up back and forth.
Yeah, it's like bubble wrap, except instead of popping, like the bubble just pushes to the other side.
Mm-hmm. And yours is in shape of a unicorn.
A unicorn. It's hard to pop them all.
All at once?
Yeah.
I think you got to get your fingers 1, 2, 3, 4 down.
Shit. That's cool. This is going to be fun.
Anyways, I can hear it, so maybe I'll turn down this a little bit so you can hear it, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how we're going to do it quietly.
I don't know how we're going to do it quietly either.
I guess we're just going to have to do ASMR.
Mine is less. I'm trying to make like a pop sound, and it was just...
Have you ever seen those people? They take whatever object and they make noise with it, and they have to try to reenact that noise.
I think so. I
don't know how they do it.
I don't know either, but I wouldn't. I'd fail.
I think you did pretty good with the pop.
I appreciate that words of encouragement.
Yeah, of course. So, as we're recording, I have Jillian here, who is going to be my co-host on the show.
Yes, thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Let's be real. We have recorded a few episodes, and we found that we need to switch some stuff up. So we are re-recording.
So here we are.
Here we are. I get to hear your story yet again for the umpteenth time.
Right.
God knows how many times I've heard your story. Do I remember it all? No.
No, of course not.
So here we are.
It'd be kind of creepy if you did.
So today, Jillian is going to tell her story. Tell us what's up, what happened before.
Sorry, no. We're recording at my kitchen table, and I just have really creaky chairs, and I was trying to adjust after Shannon earlier was like, we can't smack things, we can't hit things, we have to speak as though we want someone to listen to us, and here I am like creak, creak, creak.
Making bubble sounds.
So I'm gonna get my shit together from here on out.
And we also have seltzer drinks that she made.
Oh, I made this little mixed drink. Not the kind you're thinking.
Virgin.
Remember when we were remember when we went out to dinner with a group of friends, and none of us were drinking, and someone, I think maybe, I don't remember if it was you or somebody else, but somebody was like, I want a virgin strawberry daiquiri, and they were like virgin, and everyone else was like, I'd like some virgin water and like a virgin Diet Coke. I think it was you, and you were like, virgin strawberry daiquiri. Like the way you said it was so funny that we all had to order the same way.
I don't remember that, but yes, it was most likely me, because anytime a restaurant has a blender, I will always ask for a virgin strawberry daiquiri.
That's amazing.
Fucking love them. And the thing is like, even when I was drinking, I never liked alcohol in my strawberry daiquiris.
Interesting.
I've always liked them virgin. But yeah, when I was in early recovery, God forbid I have like a sip by accident because the bartender messed up, which it's a mistake. So like, you know, I was a little uptight. So yes, I needed a virgin strawberry daiquiri as well as a virgin water.
I mean, I get it. I hear you. But what we have right now is a lovely little mixed drink of like, it's, and if you want to create this at home, it is like 3/4 of a can of a pineapple spindrift with a splash of ginger ale. And then I have this, it is actually a sangria mixer, but it's got, I think, like peach and nectarine and strawberry, like it's just juice. And I put like a splash of that and then throw in a straw and mix it all up. And I made myself one and one for Shannon when she came in, and it's really hitting the spot.
It is. But I feel like we're also going to burp with it. It's like seltzer.
It is.
Seltzer hits you hard.
It does. Spindrift is like, I feel like the bubbles are smaller.
Oh, okay.
I don't think, it just like is like a mouthfeel thing.
Just like when I say that seltzer, when I drink it feels cold, even though it's been in the back of my car.
I don't get that.
Dane doesn't either. He's like, what do you mean it feels cold? It's hot. I'm like, I don't know. I drink it and it feels cold.
Well, I'm happy for you. I'm glad that you get that experience with warm, hot, boiling seltzer.
Nothing else. Just seltzer. Anyways, Jillian is here. She's going to tell us her story, what it was like before active addiction, alcoholism, whatever we want to call it, to kind of like what happened and like what's going on now. So let us know the goods. What are you in recovery for? What's your recovery date? And give us a fun fact about you.
Oh, okay. I am in recovery for primarily alcoholism, but I also have various mental health stuff going on that was present before I started drinking, and then during and after. And that still comes up occasionally in, multiple years of sobriety, including depression, anxiety, PTSD. My sobriety date, I have not consumed any mind-altering substances since February 21st, 2015. And a fun fact about myself is that I love to crochet. I don't know how fun that is, but we had a whole discussion about this when we recorded the first episode that is not the first episode, and how like I don't think I'm that fun, and Shannon was like, yes you are, you have your little crochet business, and so right now I am making lots of headband booty sets for little babies, and those are fun, the cute little colors and whatnot. And I mean, I'll get into, like how that plays into my life now. But essentially, if you had told me years ago that an ideal night would be
when you're not bored,
right, when I'm not bored, stay tuned for that. You'll get the joke if you keep coming back. I'm so glad you picked the right sound effect.
Me too. It worked out great.
It worked out really well. We're doing awesome. This is why we practice.
Yes.
And now I'm totally off track. But anyway, I just love
booty sets.
I just love a night in where I am like crocheting and watching reality television with my dog in my recliner with a mixed drink that's virgin. And yeah. So anyway, to get going, I feel like I don't know whether I was born an alcoholic or when I became an alcoholic, and quite frankly, that's not something that I even really think about anymore. I don't know if you can relate, Shannon, to that, but
I mean, it's definitely a question that comes up. People that don't understand addiction or alcoholism, they're like, well, you weren't born with it. It's not genetics. It's not a disease. Or, it's all about your environment and all this stuff. And I don't think about it anymore unless someone brings it up.
Right. Right. It's like interesting food for thought now, but it's not an answer that I feel I need to seek out in order to recover.
Or defend.
Yes.
You know?
So true. So true. Because I was really, as far back as I can remember, I've just been a super anxious kid. I was probably in the womb, like with anxiety about life and coming into the world. I remember, and this is a little tangential, so bear with me. I was doing a project for a recovery related class in college, and the assignment was about an event or a point in your life that essentially contributed to how you are today or something like that. I'm not explaining it well, but I was trying to think about what event I could write about. And so I asked my mom, I said, when did you notice that there was something off with me, essentially? And I thought she was going to say like 12th grade. I'm sorry, not 12th grade. When I was 12 years old. It was much earlier than 12th grade. When I was 12 years old. So I was in like 7th grade, when I remember my anxiety being really bad and started to get into self-harm and whatnot. And she said, I think like in kindergarten.
I really wish she said in the womb.
She's like, I had a sense that this is going to be a ride. But that definitely took me back. But I was also thinking, yeah.
I agree.
I was in gymnastics class in like kindergarten and like petrified of going upside down. So I would hide in the girls' bathroom because my instructor was a male. And like that is my MO in terms of facing, fear and discomfort,
Just hiding
running
in
away,
bathrooms.
right? Oh, I know where all the bathrooms are for multiple reasons. But that plays into, I just feel like I was born just wired differently. And that I just didn't really know how to handle anxiety and fear and emotion for the first many years of my life. I remember being around 10 years old, and that was the first time that my anxiety was so intense that I was thinking I don't want to wake up in the morning. I don't think I even knew what suicide was or like the definition of it, and I didn't have any plan or intent to, but I would wake up in the morning like okay, like I woke up again and I have to do this all over again.
All right, so you were depressed at 10.
Yes.
Unsure of your surroundings and what you needed to do.
You make it sound like I was lost in the woods. She was unsure of her surroundings.
Well, I was thinking of like you wandering around to the next bathroom.
No, because I told you I know where all the bathrooms are. I don't have to wander. Oh, you just make me think of like I have a compass in the woods. 10-year-old Jillian, no wonder she's depressed. Anyway.
I feel like this is going to be so much better when we get video cameras on us.
Oh, God. Oh, yes. Because we both, you more so, but you tend to silent laugh.
I do. I hit a ski jump and my mouth opens and my head goes back.
I mean, those are truly the best laughs when you are laughing so hard. And when I say you, I mean anybody. Like when you are laughing so hard that no sound comes out.
It's the best.
Your stomach is like contracting and you are just silent, and then you just hear like a
yeah, that gasp of air.
Anyway,
okay, so Jillian's depressed at 10, knows her surroundings, knows all the bathrooms. What happens like in school? What happens with like your friend group? Are you disassociating yourself? Are you trying to fit in? Are you trying to fill voids? Like what's going on throughout school?
Yeah, totally. What that looked like for me was I needed to be liked. And like, it wasn't like, oh, I want people to like me. It was, I need people to like me. I need people to like me to feel okay about myself and to have my anxiety be any level of controllable. So it was very much me wearing different costumes or masks or outfits or however you want to describe it to be whatever you wanted me to be. I could be really crass and really outspoken and attention seeking with a certain crowd, or I could be really prim and proper and not swear with another crowd. It was whatever you wanted me to be, or whatever I thought you wanted me to be, because I didn't think just being myself was good enough. And so this continued for years, and I can still do this nowadays. I'm much better at it, and I'm much more comfortable with who I truly am, but I'm getting ahead of myself. This was around the time that I got to high school, and to provide some more background, I was kind of a late bloomer when it came to drinking, because drinking is ultimately what really brought me to my knees and helped me seek like a true different way of living. But I was engaging in self-harm. I was misusing prescriptions. I was, again, people-pleasing to the ultimate extent, getting attention from guys, anything just to make me feel different. And alcohol just wasn't on my radar. I think because it was like my parents didn't drink, and I had family in recovery, and they were saying, my parents would give me feedback of like, be careful because like this has happened to so and so, you want to be careful. And I was like, okay, like I don't want to be an alcoholic, so but I'll do these other behaviors. And so I just was really uncomfortable and anxious and unhappy and didn't like myself and sad and just looking to fill this like void for years until the summer before I moved to Vermont. I grew up in New Hampshire. We live in Vermont now, and I applied to school at the University of Vermont, or UVM, and I decided the summer before coming to college that it would be kind of lame to like never have gotten drunk before going to college. And so
which it is, by the way.
Right. I'm laughing because it's true.
Yeah, it is. I thought that before high school. Like 8th grade summer, I was like, I gotta do something because it's not gonna be cool. So I'm like stealing pot from my friend's dad.
Oh my god, that's great.
Yeah, no, correct. Keep going.
Correct. And so I got drunk for the first time on my 18th birthday. I don't remember. I mean, I'd had sips of alcohol before that, but I'd never been drunk. Like I would steal sips and shots from the freezer or from an open bottle of wine in the fridge, but there just wasn't much alcohol in my house, and so it just wasn't readily available. But anyway, my 18th birthday, I get knockered, and Shannon's looking at me like she's never heard that word before.
Knockered?
Maybe it's knackered.
Either way, I have no idea.
I don't know.
That just means you got sloshy.
I just got sloshy. I got messy, slushy, sloshy, slooshy, slutty, all the above.
Slutty. I think we need to try to figure out how many terms we can come up with for like fucked up.
Oh, amazing. I love that.
Anyways, that will be its own podcast.
Yes. Oh, it will be a full hour of content. And I just remember feeling amazing. I was like, this is amazing. How have I not done this before? I felt so stupid.
Yep.
It was a spiritual experience in and of itself. And I felt, I can't take credit for this saying, but I'm going to repeat it. I felt wittier, prettier, and tittier, which
I love it.
I do too. I heard that for the first time recently. Like that was me drunk for the first time. And I decided that was going to be my state of being more frequently than not, because this was a much better way of living than I had experienced thus far. Like, holy shit.
Yep.
So now I had my drinking experience, so I wasn't going to be a loser. I'm in college, and I am drinking as much as I can, because I'm 18 and I don't know anybody in Vermont, which is part of the reason too why I'm excited to come, because I feel like I will be able to reinvent myself and meet all these new people and, you know, new place, new me, and new friends.
You get to make up your own mask. Like that wardrobe that we were talking about before, and you try to pick a mask to fit every clique that there is in high school. Now you're in college and you get to invent your own mask.
Totally. Exactly. And so I am drinking when I can, and the people around me are not super impressed with my behavior.
Surprise.
Because in case you didn't see this coming, I black out when I drink, and I lose total control of the amount that I'm going to consume. The majority of the time, I would go into drinking excited to get drunk and drink as much as I could. But there were plenty of occasions where I was planning on controlling or moderating or setting a limit for myself. And the number of times that actually happened is it did. Occasionally. It was by far not the rule. And when I was able to do it, I was miserable. I was so consumed with the frustration that I couldn't keep drinking, or that I wasn't content after X number of drinks, or when the alcohol ran out, whatever. But that's what, my drinking looked like. It looked messy. It looked like me doing things that I would not do sober, and that I would not want to do, and that if I were in a clear state of mind, I would not choose to do. That, like, pushing this like moral compass. And what my drinking ultimately ended up looking like was I would have a hypothetical scenario of, okay, if I do that, then I have a problem. And then I would do that. And then it would be, if I do that again, then I have a problem.
Yeah.
And I did.
Keep setting that bar.
Right. And then it would be, if I do that more than once in a day, then I have a problem. And I would do that. And I would just keep pushing out the bar until there just was no bar. Because I was making myself feel really guilty. And I just was going to just kind of ignore the fact that I had a moral compass that was like, Jillian, you know, this doesn't feel right. This isn't you. But I also have this addiction, this disease, however you want to think of it, in my brain telling me that this is what I needed to do. So that's what my drinking looked like. And I've also heard it described as the progression of addiction being fun with problems, and then problems. My fun lasted for a short period of time. I had fun with problems pretty quickly because, again, like, what happened when I was drinking? I was a mess. I was combative. People had to hide alcohol from me because I just never had enough. As soon as I started, I couldn't stop. And so fun with problems, it didn't take long to cross into that. And that's where I lived at for a while. And so people don't want to be around me anymore. People don't want to provide me with alcohol because I'm a liability, essentially. There were instances where I was getting physical with people, and people would tell me the next day, and I'd be
really?
like, yeah, that happened a few times, which Shannon's looking at me like, that is so, and that's
Come
not,
at me, bro.
Right? Like, that's so not me.
No.
Like so not.
Nope.
But again, like, that's alcohol, alcoholism. And so I had to kind of get creative with how I was going to get alcohol. And so I was, finding strangers on dating apps to go out with and have them provide me with alcohol. And my idea of fun was going out the night before, and I would go do whatever, come, with whoever, somehow make it home one way or the other, whether it was in a stranger's car or walking home or, whatever. I would wear, the clothes that I went out in, grab my school bag and go to class. And I was telling myself, well, I'm going to class. Like, what's the BFD? Like, what's the big fucking right? Like, because I was meeting these certain landmarks. So it was like, I'm holding down a job. Well, I'm holding down a job that I work, like 4 hours a week of. Like these things that I'm like, I'm I'm responsible. I'm being responsible and doing all these things, right? And if I wasn't going to class or if I was calling out of work, then I always had a decent excuse for it in my brain. And any of my friends who expressed concern were just being ridiculous and needed to get off my back because I didn't need another parent. So that continued, and along the way of my drinking, of these crazy nights out with people that I don't remember and memories that I just won't have, I started collecting traumas.
I thought you were going to say like trinkets or something.
Collecting trinkets. Probably. I did get accused of stealing a few times. And to be honest, I don't know if I did or not. Because if I did take any trinkets, I lost them too. But like just like collecting traumas, like putting myself in situations that were extremely unsafe. And somehow, by the grace of the universe, God, however you want to put it, I'm not, I'm still here today. But I got into a relationship when I was 18 with a man who was twice my age. And this also like wasn't me. There was this thing in my brain that was saying, this doesn't feel right. This isn't you, and I could hear my mom's voice in the back of my head being like, make good choices, be smart. I'm like, this doesn't feel like a smart decision. But this relationship was supplying me with alcohol, and alcohol was what I needed. Like, alcohol made me feel okay. Alcohol made me not want to step in front of a bus. And so I stayed in this relationship with this person that ended up becoming abusive. And I felt when I was in the relationship that I like won the lottery because I was being supplied with alcohol by this person who had a house, who would come pick me up and take me out and, do this and that, and just ignoring or maybe not suppressing the traumatic aspects of the relationship because I was getting alcohol. Like, alcohol was that important to me until I ended up leaving that person because we got into this relatively stupid argument that was not even the worst thing that he had ever said or done, but I just decided that I didn't like him very much and I'd get my alcohol somewhere else.
Fair enough.
I was an independent woman. And so I just went back on my merry way of traipsing through the downtown Burlington, Vermont apartments and streets and homes and just leaving a path of destruction everywhere I went. And urine. Path of urine too.
Sprinkling your trauma and urine everywhere.
Trauma, urine, vomit. It just, I thought that I was fun. I didn't get why people didn't want to be with me. It's funny and it's insane now, but I genuinely didn't understand why people didn't want to hang out with me.
You get hung up on it too.
Right.
Like it eats at you when you like are sober and you're like, why doesn't anyone like me? I don't know, Shannon, maybe because you're a shit show at night and fucking drama during the day.
Right. Yeah. So there were just more months of this where just the same behavior continued. And I would go home for the summer, and I was able to maintain physical sobriety because there just wasn't alcohol around. However, I was thinking about it all the time. And also of note, when I wasn't drinking in college because, there was a day where I just didn't have alcohol, I was absolutely obsessing over how I was going to get alcohol, how much more I was going to get. I was a planner, and I would come up with like an A, B, and C plan of, I'm going to go see so-and-so, and they're going to provide me with alcohol, and if that falls through, then I'm going to line this person up, and if this line falls through, then I have this person lined up. I was strategic because I felt like my life depended on, because in a sense it did, my sanity, in that period of time. Later on, my sanity depended on stopping drinking alcohol, but where I was at in that moment was that my sanity depended on having alcohol, or at least knowing that I could drink. So I was very obsessive over it as well. And so fast forward, I'm in my sophomore year of college, and I start having what I now recognize are flashbacks, but at the time, or panic attacks related to the trauma from that relationship I was in. I just thought that there was just something wrong with me. I was having, literal panic attacks where I was just consumed and feeling like I was in situations from this relationship, and they were made all the worse by drinking. So I would want to drink, A, because that was my jam, and B, because I wanted to get my brain to shut up from all of this shit that I was living in from my trauma. And so I would, of course, drink, and then when I would drink, it would make the flashbacks more vivid. So now I am miserable when I'm not drinking. I'm miserable when I am drinking, and I don't know what to do, so I keep drinking, right? And my friends don't know what to do with me. They're concerned even more so, and they're like, this is more than we can handle. You need to go talk to somebody. And so thankfully UVM has a pretty great recovery program too, but also just like mental health services for if you have addiction or not in your life. And so that's where I started. I decided that I would talk to a therapist. I had talked to therapists before, mostly at urgings of parents and my school, and for whatever. I'd never really done it for myself, and so I was somewhat doing it for myself in this instance, but not entirely. Had I not had the urging of friends, I probably wouldn't have when I did. But anyway, I signed up to go meet with a counselor, and there was this intake form that, of course, was asking why are you looking for therapy, yada yada. And there was a solid section about your alcohol and drug use. And I don't know what prompted me to do this. I still don't. I probably never will. But I was honest in that moment, and I honestly filled it out because I didn't want people to know the truth about me. Normally I was usually very dishonest, about things that would put me in a bad light, and B, just totally like random insignificant things, like I just was constantly lying. I would tell you the sky was purple just because, and I'd like believe my own bullshit.
Well, we don't want to jeopardize drinking, right? So we're gonna lie all that we can, because if we say the truth, stuff is going to come out, right? And people are going to know who we really are, and then that could jeopardize us getting what we need to quote unquote survive.
Totally. And that's terrifying. And so I filled out this section honestly. I have this appointment with this therapist, and before we dive into the trauma pieces, she says, first I want to address your alcohol use that you indicated on your intake. And I forget how exactly she worded it, but essentially asked, do you think you have a drinking problem? And I was like, well, yeah, because when I drink, I have problems. Like that line of thinking, I was like, that makes sense. I can connect those dots easily. Thinking that I was an alcoholic or anything like that was extreme, and I was not going there mentally. Drinking problem, yes, though, because people can have a this is in my mind, people can have a drinking problem and sort out their problem and then drink normally. And so I was on board with that train of thought. And so she introduced me to the what's called the Catamount Recovery Program at UVM, where there are other college students who are getting sober.
So the Catamount Recovery Program is for individuals that are in active addiction, seeking out help, or people with, just like you kind of said before, with mental health issues, or people that are just looking for a sanctuary, helping other people. It's just kind of like a slew of different kinds of human beings put together in and around mental health and recovery.
Right. People that were like me, essentially. And so I again, I had this willingness to go seek out this program, this group of people that I don't know where that came from, but I'm really glad that it was there when I needed it, because I was able to meet other people who were my age, because that was a big thing for me. I was thinking, how can I possibly be an alcoholic if I can't even legally drink? How does that make any sense? And so seeing other people under the age of 21 who had gotten sober and have either months and even years of sobriety was insane to me. I couldn't believe it. And they introduced me to other like-minded people who have a brain like me and who can't drink or use substances without people like me who can't drink or use substances without jeopardizing their sanity and health and in life in the process, and just have no control. Introducing me to a fellowship of people in a 12-step program that has helped me to see a different way of life. Before I really got involved in any type of fellowship, I had this plan where I was going to stop drinking for 6 months, because this was February of 2015, January, February, and 6 months would bring me right around to the time when my junior year would start. So I had this plan where I was going to go to therapy. I was going to get this PTSD thing in check, because now I was coming to terms with the fact that their trauma had taken place, and that there was work to be done there. So my plan was to get that all squared away in 6 months.
Good luck.
Yeah. 6 years later, we're still working on it. But in 6 months, and then I was going to drink normally. I was going to start running. I downloaded the Couch to 5K app and was doing that. I ran so much that I gave myself shin splints that turned into a stress fracture. So that worked out well for me. I was going to volunteer. And I was going to join clubs at school, because I felt like doing all of this was the picture of mental health. And if I wanted to drink normally, then I needed to do these things, and that this made complete sense. None of this happened except for the running, to the point where I got a stress fracture. And then I haven't run since. Because I stopped drinking and I was a mess. I was an absolute wreck. I felt so... My solution was gone. What made me feel okay and what I could like hang my hat on at the end of the day in terms of feeling like I could get through life was now gone. I felt like I had nothing to look forward to and nothing that was going to make me happy. And I was doomed to this life of depression, boredom, no fun. I was going to lose my friends because no one wanted to be around me. Well, nobody wanted to be around me anyway. And so, and I mean, long story, very short, that hasn't been the case, because I have met other people. I've met people like Shannon, who have shown me that have shown me multiple things. One, that if I started drinking again after 6 months, then nothing was going to change. I was going to pick up exactly where I left off, and it was going to get worse. That two, I could have fun being sober. Like the two things just seemed mutually exclusive to me. I was like, there's no way that people are having fun and not consuming substances. There's no way they like their life being sober.
You know, when you say that, when I first got sober and I saw people that were sober and like attending, 12-step functions and stuff, and they're happy, and I was like, these motherfuckers, they're high as fuck. They're just not telling anyone. They're drunk right now. Fuck off.
Fuck off. I'm not buying that.
Yeah, for a long time I thought that.
Yeah. No,
that's not the case.
It's not, which is so amazing. And also, and another thing that I've learned too is that my drinking And my alcoholism and my addiction, that whole umbrella is really just like one part of my of who I am in terms of how my brain is wired. If that makes sense. I mean, I just have a brain that isn't really rooted in reality. And I need help from a fellowship, from therapy, from my antidepressants, from, working with, people who I consider to be mentors. And then also building a relationship with a power greater than myself that I keep super vague and I just don't really have an understanding, but I believe that there is something bigger than me out there.
Well, it kind of sounds like your toolbox.
Yeah.
It's like what you're kind of putting it all together. It's like, this is my toolbox and this is what I've learned to help me cope with everyday situations. And these are the tools that I use on a daily basis, or some of them I just pull out when needed type of deal.
Right, exactly. My little fanny pack.
Oh, I like that.
A little fanny pack. Oh. It's always there, and it's just a matter of, am I going to pull from my fanny pack, or am I just going to ignore it and ignore, my tools, my resources, my experiences? Because when I pull on those, I can see that I can get through life and situations that come up. When I don't, it's a hell of a lot harder, and I go through more pain and suffering than is necessary. So
you having your fanny pack and all these objects inside your fanny pack, in like you fall out of a rhythm where you don't use any of this stuff, and you kind of get stuck in this rut. How do you get back to using tools in your toolbox, in your fanny pack?
That's such a great question. Pain is the ultimate motivator for me. I like to do what's comfortable to me, even if what's comfortable is causing me pain. And so I will just kind of continue on the same trajectory, doing the same thing until it doesn't work and it causes me enough pain to change. And so a lot of times, I really wish that this wasn't the way I am. It's so much easier for me to stay on the beam and keep reaching into my fanny pack than it is for me to veer off the path and then start it again. But I mean, I would be lying if I said that hasn't happened multiple times over, my 6+ years of sobriety. That it's just easier for me to keep doing what works. It's just the insanity of, I am feeling better doing what I'm doing. You can think of it as, taking your medicine, but so because I'm feeling better, I'm going to stop doing what is making me feel good. And then I'm going to be surprised when I don't feel so great as time goes on. And that looks like a number of things, but mostly that I have a lot of fear over not being in control and not being able to directly affect outcomes and what other people think and do, not having a sense of acceptance, and that life is going to happen on life's terms and that I'm along for the ride more so than I care to be. I want to be the in control, like the puppet master, and have people act and think a certain way. And when I am really in tune with the fact that that's just not the case, and that's not my life, and it's not worth fighting that, and there's so much more peace and serenity to be had in letting go of that control, like that's when I feel good. Which is, it's a little paradoxical in a lot of ways. Like I find that a lot of things in my recovery are paradoxical. Like the more I accept that I don't have control, the more free I am. And then, but of course, because I'm human, I'm going to mess up and I'm going to forget about my fanny pack and I'm going to stop doing what makes me feel good, and what keeps me fit mentally, spiritually, emotionally fit. And I go back to it when I realize that, oh shit, I did it again.
Like you've had enough.
Yeah. And I mean, the risk for that with me is that I can drink because of that. And like I can pick up a glass of wine or a beer or a shot and convince myself if I stay off the beam for too long that that's okay, that I've done a lot of work on myself, and that now it would be different when it wouldn't be.
Right.
When I am truly on the beam and I'm taking action and I'm doing the right thing, putting one foot in front of the other, staying connected with people who are like me, I don't have thoughts of that. Or if I do, then I can recognize that that's insane. That's my disease talking. That's my disease telling me that drinking or using substances or whatever would be a good idea and would be different this time. But when I'm not connected, that voice in my head that's saying, it wouldn't be such a bad thing, that is more believable.
Right.
And that is a risk that I can't take. All I can speak to is today, and today, in this moment, I don't want to drink. I'm doing this recovery podcast with you,
It wouldn't look too good if we started to drink.
No,
if these weren't virgin,
right? Oh my God.
It wouldn't work out well.
Yeah. I mean, essentially where I'm going with all of this is that there's a lot at stake.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot at stake. It's my life that is in my hands. And so I have to be very careful when I veer off in any way. So in my experience, it's been easier to stay connected and just keep doing that than it is to stop, experience pain, and then get back into it.
Mm-hmm. Now, in wrapping up, you dived very far into your story and what it was like, kind of what happened and how you continued to stay sober. What is one key thing that you would want to say to our listeners who may be questioning if they have an issue or in earlier stages of recovery or just don't know? Like, what is something you would tell our listeners?
Oh my gosh, that is such a fabulous question. This is kind of a joke, but there's also a lot to it. And you may have heard this, but the joke of, like somebody's, and I'm paraphrasing, but somebody's trying to determine if they have a drinking problem or not. And so they Google, a quiz, like, am I an alcoholic? And the first question is, am I taking this quiz right now?
Oh my
God. Because there's a lot of, for myself, I'll speak for myself. I had a lot of denial and questioning and just thinking that, having a drinking problem was extreme. And truthfully, all it is if you think that you might have a problem or that your drinking is creating more harm than good, you don't need to make a commitment to never drink again. There are so many resources, and especially since, thankfully in 2021, there's still a lot of stigma, but it's getting better. We're going in the right direction. There are so many resources in terms of centers and fellowships and 12-step programs, and, people are out there extending their hands to help. And all you have to do is just try. Go check out a resource, go to a fellowship event. And again, you don't need to make any commitment. By going, you're not saying, okay, I'm never going to drink again. You just go check it out. And if you decide that, okay, I want to keep going back to this, it's one day at a time. Mm-hmm. We're not worried about tomorrow. We're worried about today.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, you're right on. Sorry, you just said something that I wanted to write down so we could talk about it. And we'll get into that. I think we need to wrap it up. you know, we got some other podcasts that we're going to do today.
Hell yeah.
So before we leave, why don't you tell us where we can find you, maybe a little blurb about your business and where we can find all that as well.
Hell yeah. You can find me on Instagram. The key is my crochet account, which is at offthehookbyjillian. Jillian is with a J, Jillian. I have a business on Etsy. You can go to etsy.com and search for Off the Hook by Jillian, all one word in their search bar, and you can find my page. And then you can find my personal page from there if you're interested, but it is significantly less interesting than my crochet page. So that's what I really want to plug. Like I said, right now we're doing baby stuff, but I also do hats, ear warmers, and I have a lot of ideas for fall and this next coming winter. So stay tuned because I keep coming up with new things, and you just never know what's going to get posted, or if there's going to be a promo code for listeners.
Ooh, I like it. So I'll put all that information down in the description, and you guys can follow her, chat with her if you have any questions. And I thank you all for listening, and I thank Jillian especially for starting to be my co-host and for sharing your story.
Hell yeah. Thanks for asking.
All right. Bye.
Bye.